If you're new to the world of sales, or if, like so many people, you've been in sales for a while and just not had any genuinely good sales training, amazing how often that happens still, welcome. Glad to have you aboard, and I promise I'll be gentle. When you start to explore the world of sales and influence, it can get really confusing really fast. That's because you're covering the entire sphere of human psychology, human motivation, decision making, communication. It's a big subject. I've spent more than 40 years studying it and developing it, and I'm still nowhere near finished with that project. But let me simplify things out for you. Let me save you a few decades of trial and error, mainly trial, by the way, and come up with the most important topics that you need to master if you're going to have a really successful career in sales and influence in whatever context you choose to focus. Before I get into it, if you're serious about building a career in business to business sales, download a copy of my free ebook. The link is down below in the description and also in the comments, which talks about the deals framework, which is the framework that I always recommend for business to business sales. All you need to do is click the link, fill in your details, you get immediate access. It will also be sent by email to you. You can then refer to it as often as you want. Over 25 years, I've trained more than 100,000 salespeople in pretty much every industry and niche that you can think of, and probably a few you can't. And I only get paid by my business clients for delivering results. If my training doesn't work, I don't get paid. So everything I talk about is tested, it's proven, it works. Let's jump straight in with the foundation to everything, which is your ability to manage your state. State management is the technical term for it. State is your energy, it's your emotions, it's your mood, it's your focus. And the ability to manage your state is fundamental because we're in a world where there's loads of distractions. There's notifications popping up all the time. There's your email, there's this, there's that, there's the other. There's your colleagues in the office, there's Zoom calls coming in, there's all this stuff. And your ability to manage your state allows you to focus and not get dragged into other people's moods and other people's stresses and traumas. If you can manage your state, if you can stay energized, positive, focused, no matter what's going on around you, no matter what mood anybody else is in, then you have the opportunity to go do your deals, to go do your thing as well as you possibly can. But if you allow yourself to be the victim of other people's moods, if you let other people's good or bad moods affect you, you're not really in charge of your life. It means that somebody else is driving your bus. And I just hate that idea. So learn to manage your state. Extending from that is your ability to build rapport with people. Now, building rapport, it's presented as though it's some kind of mystical black art. It's really not. Rapport is nothing more than feeling comfortable with somebody. People who are like each other tend to like each other. People like them. Now, if you're in a social setting, you may, be introduced to somebody and you have a chat, and you try and find things in common. I'm British, so obviously we start with the weather, and then we may go to sports, TV, movies, books, whatever. And if we can't find anything in common, well, no harm, no foul. We'll just go off and talk to somebody else. But in business, you can't take that risk. You've got to be able to build rapport with anybody, because I suspect that your best prospects probably have nothing in common with you. No common interests, no common background, no common education, totally different to you. And that's fine, because rapport doesn't have to be about the things you have in common. It can be about the fact that you're human beings with a psychology that works in a common way. So you can build rapport through behavior. Let me give you an extreme example. Let's say that you are very quiet, very restrained, very understated. Speak a bit more slowly. And I start a conversation by saying, "Hi, I'm Steve. I'm just going to scare the willies out of you." What just happened? Woof, total mismatch. If you take the extremes, it's really obvious that the more I behave like you, the more we'll feel comfortable with each other. That's all rapport is. The more you understand it, the more powerful it becomes. But as a starting point, that's all you need to understand and do with rapport is just do enough to behave a bit like somebody. Speak at the same speed, speak at the same volume, maybe use the same common words that they do. Just match them enough for them to feel comfortable with you. You don't have to sit exactly the same way they do. You don't have to make the same gestures. You don't need to do any of that. You just need to be a bit like them. Same speed, same volume. That's all you need to do. Third thing is you have to develop the art of asking great questions, because the sale, and this is something that most beginners in sales, in fact, most people in sales generally don't get. Selling isn't about what you say. Selling is about the questions that you use. Because whatever I say to you is an opinion, but whatever you say to me, that's a fact. So I never try to sell you. I just use my questions so that you can sell yourself. That's what I mean by asking great questions. Now, asking great questions is only valuable if you actually, listen to the damned answers, which most salespeople don't. There are people who listen and people who wait to speak. Guess who does all the deals? Because when you're talking about your problems and about the solutions that you want, you're giving me all the information I need to help you and build a relationship with you. When I'm talking, who cares? So if I'm going to listen, and I mean listen, I want to listen so that I can repeat back precisely what you said. I don't mean the general sense of it. I don't mean an interpretation of it. I don't mean paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is rude and wrong, by the way. Paraphrasing means taking the words that somebody used and turning them into what they should have said if they were as clever as you. It's rude, it's patronizing, and it really doesn't work. Parrot phrasing, that works. Parrot phrasing is where I repeat back exactly what you said and exactly how you said it. And it shows that I'm listening. You feel heard, you feel listened to. That builds trust, that builds rapport. And I also make sure that I actually understood what the heck you were talking about. So listen, learn to be a great listener. Find the other person interesting, and they'll find you interesting. And they should be interesting because they are the ones that hold the secret to your future. So listen to what they're telling you. Everybody needs a framework. If you're going to learn to drive a car, if you're going to fly a plane, if you're going to whatever, you need a framework. You need a system, a process that you can repeat. Now, I mentioned earlier the deals process that I tend to work with my clients. Everybody has to follow a process. Not necessarily be the same process, but you need a process, because if you don't have a way of working, it means that everything's random. You never do the same thing twice, which means that how do you improve? If you're going to learn to drive a car, you have to learn certain things in a certain sequence. You have to do certain things in a certain sequence. You have to learn to mirror, indicate, maneuver. If you don't learn mirror, indicate, maneuver, you're going to be a moving traffic hazard. If you want to get better at driving, having learned mirror, indicate, maneuver, you learn to do it better. You learn to do it more effectively. As an advanced driver, you learn to check your mirror every 10 seconds or so. You learn to check your wing mirror, check your rear mirror, constantly being aware of what's going on. But it's still mirror, indicate, maneuver. You just get better at it. So work within a sales process. Let's say it's 5 steps or 12 steps or whatever it might be, but you can then get better at each little piece. And if you get a little bit better at each little piece and they all stack together, you can create a massive impact just by getting a little bit better at lots of things. So work with a process. Learn to love frameworks. We're in sales. We have to be able to close the deal and get them to sign on the line which is dotted, to misquote Alec Baldwin from Glengarry Glen Ross. We have to close the deal at some point, but that is not about 365 ways to close the sale, which used to be a book. I have a copy and it's out of print now, fortunately. You don't need 365 closing techniques, most of which were invented in the 1930s for people who were traveling door to door and doing a one-off transactional sale with a complete stranger that they'd never met before and would never meet again. Your business isn't like that. My business isn't like that. You don't need alternative closes, puppy dog closes, pen closes, assumptive closes. You don't need any of that stuff. You need one technique that allows people to get out of their own way and do what they want to do. Now, the technique I use, I've done a video just about the SAQ closing technique. When in doubt and you want to close someone, sack them. There's a link to the video shown around here somewhere. Click through to that. It explains everything in much more detail. But I promise you, if you buy a book, if you watch videos and they talk about this closing technique and that closing technique and the other, and no, just no. Understand that they're all based on doing a stranger over because you're never going to deal with them again ever. Closing techniques are the reason that people hate salespeople, and they do. Everybody hates salespeople. Salespeople hate salespeople. Think about the cliche salesperson. They're loathsome, they're pushy, they're obnoxious, they're loud, they're in your face, they're trying to push you to do something you don't want to do, and they're trying to screw you over just to get the money, just to get the commission. It's not you, is it? I hope it's not you. If it is you, you're watching the wrong channel. You don't need to screw people over with clever techniques. You need to help them get the best possible solution for which they'll pay good money and from which they'll benefit so they come back again. That's the kind of deal that you need to learn to close. Just while we're in the middle of this video, let me ask you a question. What is it that you want to achieve with sales skills? Is it that you're wanting to build a career? You wanting to go off and build your own business? You're an entrepreneur, you're a solopreneur. What is it you're trying to do with it? What is it you're trying to get from improving your sales and influence skills? Obviously, once we've closed a deal, or if we haven't closed a deal but we've kept the door open, always a good idea, we have to stay in touch. Now, there's a term that people use. People use the F word, that they F-bomb prospects. They follow up. Oh, God, no. If somebody calls you and says, hey, I'm just following up, they may as well shout down the phone, hey, I want to do you over and take your money. I'm trying to get commission from you. Follow up. No, staying in touch, asking questions, clarifying, getting more information. You have to stay in touch because it's unusual, unless it's a really quick transaction, it's unusual for it to be a one and done deal. Even if it is a one and done deal, but you want repeat business, you're still going to have to stay in touch. So the ability to stay in touch and make it fresh and interesting and rewarding for people, that's a real skill. It's related to the ability to network, but staying in touch, keeping a deal, keeping a relationship moving forwards is such a valuable skill, because once you've got underway in this profession of ours, the majority of your revenue, the majority of your success is going to come from your repeat business, because it's a lot easier to keep people coming back once they're bought from you. it's also, and most people don't do this, if you follow up properly, if you stay in touch properly, it's much easier to keep a deal moving forwards than it is to kickstart it in the first place. So learn how to stay in touch in a professionally effective way. At some point, you're going to get objections. You just are. And there's a small industry about sales training for objection handling. And it's similar, it's kind of the first cousin to closing techniques. You don't need lots of clever techniques to handle objections. You just don't. Because objections aren't really scary. They're not what most people think. It's not people being objectionable. It's not people picking a fight. Objections are, they're unanswered questions. They're bits of information that people haven't understood because you didn't explain them properly, or they're things that we haven't really thought about because maybe they haven't told us. So objections are unanswered questions or requests for more information. So there's a link down below, I should say. Click on the link and there's a free ebook, a free slide deck for you there that will teach you how to be an objection slayer. And everything that's in there is based on a combination of common sense experience and really solid behavioral psychology. So click on the link, learn how to handle objections. Allied with handling objections, there's this common sort of thought that you have to know how to handle rejection because you're going to get rejected as a salesperson. Not really true, because they're not rejecting you. They're rejecting your proposal, your idea, your product, your company, your pricing. They're not rejecting you as a person. Well, not very often anyway. I mean, I've had it a couple of times, but that's because, well, me. But it's not about you. Leave your ego at the door a little bit and realize, just listen to what they're saying. They're not rejecting you. But it does take a little bit of, you do have to manage your state a little bit to get back on the horse, to get back on the bicycle once you've fallen off. You're going to fall off. You're going to have deals that don't come through. You're going to have deals that happen smaller than they were supposed to. You're going to lose customers. It happens. But it's not about you. It's about them. It's not personal. Don't take it as personal. Just shrug it off. Nothing gets you over the last one like the next one. If you're going to have happy customers that come back time and time again for a long period, which you do, that is precisely what you want. Got to learn how to build relationships, because transactions are hard. Transactions take a lot of physical, mental, emotional effort. Building a relationship should be pleasurable. It should be more enjoyable. It's also a lot easier to keep customers coming back than it is to win them in the first place. So learn to build relationships. I know a lot of people in the sales industry don't kind of get the same buzz out of client management as they do out of winning the deal in the first place. Oh, but I'm a lone wolf. Yeah, do a bit of research about wolves. Lone wolves die. Wolves are pack animals. The alpha in a pack of wolves is at the back, making sure that everybody else is safe, that everybody else is okay, that the pack doesn't go too fast for the slowest member. Hunting is great. Farming is where the money is. If you're relatively new to sales, there's a misconception that people have, and it's common throughout the industry, which is people buy products. They buy products or services. They buy benefits instead of features, none of which is actually true. People buy solutions. There's a gap between something they want and what they've currently got. That gap is your opportunity. So the best salespeople are problem solvers. The best account managers keep solving problems so that the gap never appears, so that their competition can't get in. The best salespeople are problem solvers. They find out people's problems and they solve them better than anybody else. And that is the real, if you really boil sales down, that is the secret to a successful career in sales. having the ability to identify problems and solve them. That's what it's really all about. And the last skill that I'm going to recommend you learn and develop genuine expertise in is reading body language. Because there's an old expression, who you are speaks so loudly that I can't hear what you're saying. People leak the truth from every pore, which is a quote from Sigmund Freud. People's thoughts, feelings, emotions, they come out in their body language, they come out in their eye accessing cues, they come out in their posture, they come out in their voice. We speak with our hands. People are telling you everything without saying a word. You can tell whether somebody's receptive or not. You can tell whether somebody's motivated or not. You can tell whether they're interested or not. You can tell whether they're ready to buy from you or not. Once you learn the science of non-verbal communication, more than 70%, depends which surveys you read, but more than 70% of what people communicate is pure body language. More than 80% is a combination of body language and tone of voice. So learn the science and the skill of reading people. I've put a couple of resources down below. Click on those links, download them. All you need to put is your name and your email address. You get immediate access to them. We'll send them straight into your inbox, or you can download them from the screen. Read them, study them. This is a profession. You don't become a lawyer by accident. You don't become an accountant or an engineer by accident. It takes skill, it takes learning, it takes expertise, it takes competence, which starts with knowledge. So start to build your knowledge, and I'll be there as far as I can to help you and support you. If this has been useful, click on the like, click on the subscribe, and click on the notification bell. You know the routine by now. There's a new video comes out every week, and there's new shorts that come out every single day. So click on the subscribe and the notification, and that way you will never miss out on any of the sales and influence goodness that will help you build your expertise and your knowledge. Now, if you have comments, click them below. I'll always read them and reply. If you have questions, I'm really happy to answer any questions you may have, as long as you give me a couple of days to reply. So click on the comments, tell me what you think, ask me your questions. I'll do my best to help. I'll see you next time.